As you sit there hearing this, you might notice the tiniest shift in how your thoughts begin to unfold, like the gentle unfurling of a flower, layer by layer. Because you see, power, it isn't what you've been told it is, not at all. And isn't it curious? The very thing you're afraid of, this idea of power, it isn't even real in the way you might have imagined it to be. Let's explore this together. Because power, it isn't some wild beast waiting to overtake you. No, it's more like a tool, a key that opens a door to your greatest potential. Imagine for a moment you're holding a hammer in your hand. Now you could use that hammer to build something extraordinary, a home, a sanctuary, a bridge. Or yes, you could misuse it. But notice this, the hammer itself is neutral. It's not good, it's not bad. It simply is. Isn't power just like that? A neutral force waiting for your intention to reshape it. Let's go deeper. Some part of you might be whispering, but what if I mess up? What if I fail? And isn't it fascinating that failure too, it's just a concept, a story we tell ourselves about what should or shouldn't happen. Think about a toddler learning to walk. Every stumble, every fall is part of the process, isn't it? Would you ever tell that child, stop trying? You might fall again. Of course not. And yet, you've told yourself that story about power, as if failure means something final. But here's the truth. Failure is nothing more than feedback. It's like the GPS in your car, recalculating the route. Oh, you missed a turn, no problem. Let's adjust and keep moving. And then there's that whisper, isn't there? That fear that power might corrupt you, twist you, change you into something you don't want to be. But ask yourself this, does power corrupt? Or does it amplify what's already there? Picture a magnifying glass. On a sunny day, it can focus light to spark a fire, warming, illuminating, inspiring. Or it could burn, couldn't it? But the magnifying glass doesn't choose. It simply enhances what's already present. And so, as you begin to embrace power, you might find yourself asking, what do I truly value? What kind of person am I really? Because power doesn't make you, it reveals you. And here's the most exciting part. The fear you feel about power. It's proof that you care. It's proof that you value integrity, kindness, wisdom. You wouldn't fear corruption if you weren't committed to staying grounded, would you? So that fear is like a compass pointing you back to what matters the most. And isn't it amazing to realise the very thing you fear is actually guiding you towards your highest self? So now imagine stepping into your power, not as something to conquer, but as something to dance with. Picture yourself holding it lightly, playfully, like a flame cupped in your hands. Not clinging, not resisting, but letting it illuminate your path. And notice how that feels. Notice the sense of freedom that comes when you stop fighting power and start flowing with it. Because here's the thing. You can trust yourself. You can trust your heart, your values, your intentions. They're strong. Strong enough to guide you. Power, it isn't something outside you. It's something that's always been within you, just waiting to be claimed. And as you begin to step into it, you might notice a new story taking shape. A story of possibility, of purpose, of courage. And so, as you sit with this now, perhaps you can begin to wonder, what might happen if you simply allowed yourself to try, to explore, to fail, to rise again, knowing that every step is part of the process? What might happen if you trusted that power is simply a magnifying glass, revealing the brilliance that's already within you? What might happen if you let go of the fear and embrace the dance? Well, that's a story that you can write. And doesn't that make it all the more exciting? As you continue to absorb these words, allowing each one of them to settle comfortably in your mind, like rain soaking into fertile soil, you might begin to notice a thought arising, a gentle curiosity. It's as if the part of you that once resisted power is now leaning in, intrigued, beginning to wonder, what if power wasn't the enemy you thought it was? What if power was in fact the missing piece? And as you sit with that question, something inside you begins to shift, doesn't it? Because power, it's not a force to fear. It's a seed. Yes, a seed. And just like any seed, it holds infinite potential, doesn't it? Imagine holding an acorn in your hand. At first glance, it's small, so unassuming, and yet within it lies the blueprint for the mighty oak. A tree that can weather storms, provide shelter, and stand tall for centuries. Now isn't it interesting that the acorn doesn't fear its own growth? It simply allows the process to unfold, trusting the earth, the rain, the sun. What if I told you you could trust the process of your own unfolding? What if power wasn't something to avoid, but something to nurture, something to grow into? You see, power doesn't overwhelm you. It grows with you, at the pace you're ready to expand, like water filling a vessel. It takes the shape of who you are. And here's what's truly fascinating. You've already been wielding power. Yes, you have. Every time you made a choice, big or small, you've exercised power. And isn't it remarkable how naturally you've done it, without even realizing? You're far more capable than you ever allowed yourself to believe, aren't you? And then there's the old story, isn't there? The one that whispers, but what if I fail? Failure, such an interesting word, isn't it? Because failure, it isn't the end. It's the teacher. It's the coach, standing on the sidelines, just urging you to adjust, adapt, and try again. Think about an artist painting a masterpiece. Each brushstroke builds on the last. Even the strokes that don't seem perfect, they're part of the creation. What if your journey was just like that? What if every so-called mistake was simply a brushstroke, adding depth and texture to the masterpiece of your life? What about the fear that power might corrupt? Let's explore that now, shall we? Imagine a flashlight in the dark. Its purpose is simple, to illuminate. Now the flashlight doesn't choose what it shines on, does it? That's up to you. You point it where you want to see more clearly. And isn't power just like that? A flashlight waiting for your guidance. It doesn't corrupt, it simply reveals. And when you shine that light inward, what do you see? Your values, your heart, your deep commitments to doing good. Because if you weren't deeply, profoundly committed to integrity, you wouldn't be afraid of corruption, would you? Isn't it fascinating how your fear is actually proof of your goodness? Let's go even deeper. Imagine stepping into the power, not as a burden, but as a gift. Imagine holding it lightly, like a delicate feather in your hand. You don't crush it. You don't let it drift away. You simply hold it, feeling its softness, its potential. And as you do, notice how power begins to feel less like a threat and more like an ally. It's not there to control you. It's here to support you, to lift you, to help you create and inspire. And maybe you've already noticed something. As you begin to reframe your relationship with power, you also begin to reframe your relationship with yourself. Because power doesn't create the person. It reflects the person. It's a mirror, showing you who you really are. And as you look into that mirror, you might begin to notice something surprising. Strength, compassion, wisdom. Yes, you. It's always been you. So now imagine what becomes possible when you step fully into your power. Not because you have to, but because you can. Imagine the ripple effects, how your courage inspires others, how your light helps them find their own. Power doesn't isolate you, it connects you. It's not about domination. It's about collaboration, creation, contribution. As you let these words settle deeper into your unconscious mind, you might begin to notice a growing sense of ease. A sense that power, it isn't something to fear. It's something to embrace. Because the truth is, you already hold the key. The door, it's always been waiting. And now, as you prepare to step through, you realize you were ready all along.